Donald Trump has gone mute, running away from all public appearances after threatening to annihilate the Iranian civilization yet again. Donald Trump launched strikes against Iran multiple times over the weekend. He started striking Iran on Friday after the markets closed, right before the futures markets were set to open on Sunday. Donald Trump had Barack Ravid at Axios post that the United States would stop striking Iran and wanted to get back into productive conversations with Iran about the Strait of Hormuz and about the Memorandum of Understanding that indeed manipulated the market. We'll see what happens today, but the futures market turned green as Donald Trump and his right-wing oligarchs wanted, and now Donald Trump is MIA, nowhere to be found. You take a look at Donald Trump's schedule today, and all of his events are closed to the press. This is how his schedule looks. Starting at 8 a.m. executive time, closed to the press. Then he has a so-called policy meeting at 10:30 a.m., closed to the press. Another policy meeting at 12:30 p.m., closed to the press. 2 p.m., yet another policy meeting, closed to the press. 3 p.m., he signs an executive order, closed to the press. A policy meeting at 4 p.m., closed to the press. At 5:30 p.m., you guessed it, a policy meeting, closed to the press. Now, we all know that Donald Trump doesn't do policy meetings. Given his deteriorating health, this raises additional red flags. And Donald Trump did post this as well late last night around midnight his time. He posted the following. CBS Sunday Morning interviews J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance says, "My sense of the president's health is that it's off the charts good. His focus, his energy, his constant grinding." This is what Donald Trump posted about himself. "I think he's in great health." Okay. Then also around midnight, Donald Trump posted a meme of himself with people's hands on his shoulders, and it says, "Prayers." Prayers to your 250th Great American Fair, by the way. I'm going to do another video on that in like 90 minutes because Trump had to close down the Great American Fair again because nobody showed up, and yet again they blame the weather. On the event postponement announcement, here's zoom in here, they spelled freedom wrong. They're like, event postponed, go to Freedom 250 social media, freedom spelled Freedom, because nothing says freedom like 3 E's in freedom. You want to see how deranged this maniac, this psychopath, this vile piece of trash is in the White House? Here's what he posted earlier in the day. Just look at the way this post looks. If anybody you knew posted something or sent you a message that just visually looked like this, I'll get into what the words actually say in just a moment. I would want you to check them in involuntarily under a 5150 psychiatric hold, because this is truly someone who is not well. But I don't want to use that as an excuse, because this is someone who needs to be brought to justice and someone who needs to be held accountable. But here's what Donald Trump was posting about. He talks about the criminal algae. Have you all heard about criminal algae? And he talks about how these reflecting pool vandals, how they hate our country. They cut and butchered a 350-foot long strip. It never works. They're animals. It's working well because the, quote, criminally made algae is gone and the grass which was destroyed is being replaced. Criminally made algae, folks. You can use that to add that to the lexicon right there. And by the way, someone showed me this photo right here. You know, in the middle of the reflecting pool is a draining system. And I've heard people say, does Donald Trump think the 350-foot draining system is the 350-foot long strip that is the Antifa vandals? You know how Donald Trump believes that asylum seekers come from mental asylums, which is why he says Hannibal Lecter. We truly have a sick, demented psychopath in the Oval Office, a war criminal, a sexual predator, a deviant in the Oval Office who needs to be impeached, frankly, and needs to be thrown in prison. Yesterday, Donald Trump was with Natalie Harp for most of the day. Again, not making any public appearances. And you would think, yesterday he made a social media post threatening to annihilate the civilization of Iran again. He says, if you behave this way, I'm going to have to blow up and destroy all of Iran. He said that while he was hanging out with Natalie Harp. Is this what he does? I mean, we've learned from the book Regime Change that Donald Trump apparently gets off on watching charred bodies of the war crimes he engages in with Pete Hegseth when they blow up the fishing boat. So is that like what he does on Friday? Then Natalie Harp is kind of the Saturday thing for Donald Trump. And we know that lots of people are freaking out over Natalie Harp as well, because when people give Donald Trump the numbers and show how bad our economy's doing, how bad his presidency is, I'll be like, Natalie. And Natalie's referred to as his human printer. And Donald Trump says, Natalie will love me forever. And then she writes him love notes and hides love notes all across the White House that the Secret Service find. Natalie knows. Natalie has the right information. And apparently that's how Donald, is that what the policy meetings are, Donald? Is that what the policy positions are? Let's take a look, folks, at what's going down in the Strait of Hormuz over the last 24 hours. Push aside the rhetoric. Let's look at the data. Let's look at the receipts over rhetoric. Let's take a look. Here's a look at the Strait of Hormuz. HFI Research posted over the last 24 hours. Inbound tankers, very limited. One small group of tankers got through the Oman route under U.S. escort. Outside of this group, no visible AIS tankers went through the Oman route. The other inbound tankers are all sanctioned and Iran related. They all use the Iran route over there. And I think it's important that we actually see what's going down, because we still have a massive crude, petroleum, other material and resources from Middle East problem right now. It's catastrophic. And I know we all want to pretend that it doesn't exist and that we on this network, but I guess the market manipulation is like, let's make sure the price of oil goes down and let's constantly pump and dump the market. That's what the regime is doing. But folks, there are major systemic issues taking place. This is Barack Ravid over at Axios. Breaking! U.S. and Iran agree to halt strikes. Meet this week. U.S. officials tell me. It was literally posted 40 minutes before the futures market opened. Come on. They've been running this same racket, in my opinion, since February. Then Ravid cites U.S. officials. We decided to stop all the kinetic activity, a senior U.S. official told me, using the military's term for strikes and other attacks. A second U.S. official told me both sides will stand down for now and that vessels can move freely as technical talks are set to continue. It's not even true. Iran has made it very clear. If you use the Oman route, Iran will shoot your ship. Okay? By the time I air this video, it's possible another ship will be hit by Iran, because Article 5 of the Memorandum of Understanding says Iran administers the Strait of Hormuz free for the first 60 days. Thereafter, Iran and Oman consult with other Arab nations, and they come up with a broader plan for control over the Strait of Hormuz. That's what it says in the MOU. It's clear. It's unambiguous. That's what it says. Can I just bring you joy for a moment? Because here in the United States, we have a demented authoritarian who's destroying our country. But over there in Canada, you've got an empathetic, wise, intelligent prime minister, Mark Carney, who's essentially the leader of the free world at this point right here. He's been bringing together trans-Pacific, transatlantic partnerships. Watch Prime Minister Carney walking into Toronto's Pride Parade to applause with love, with joy. Play this clip. Speaking of Canada, Hunter Biden went on Canadian TV. He was on Power Play. And here's what he said about Canadians and Donald Trump. Let's play this clip.
Well, to tell you the truth, Bashi, that I think that's up to you. I think that's up to Canadians. And what I mean by that is this. is that I think that Donald Trump has done more long-term damage to the status of our relationship and not only the relationship with Canada, but the relationship with all of our allies than people fully realize. And so at the end of the day, I hope that we elect someone that can heal and mend that relationship. But I think it's going to take time, and I can understand why it was going to take time. When my dad was president of the United States, one of the things that he always say was leaders would come up to him and say, "Thank you, but how long is this going to last?" And I think that next time we have to make systemic changes in our system that are going to prove that this can't happen again.
And Hunter Biden says, "I love Canada."
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to speak to our audience and to us. Thank you so much, Mr. Biden.
Well, I love Canada. Thank you very much for having me, Bash.
And you can see the United States ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, continuing to attack Canada over and over again. Hat tip to the Canadian anchor. She does a great job.
But in the course of the last, year and a half, the hesitation that you are describing is likely the genesis of, comments and actions by the administration and by the president himself. Canada only works as a state. We don't need anything they have. As a state, it would be one of the great states anyway. Canada is totally dependent on the United States. Without us, Canada can't make it. If we stop buying their products, Canada would cease to exist as a country. If someone spoke to the United States that way, would you be advocating for deeper integration, or would you too have some hesitance?
We would take a look at our business community, where we're doing well. We wouldn't go to our largest trading partner and say there's a rupture, and we're actually going to be looking somewhere else.
And while I showed you that Hunter video, let me show you former President Biden. And former President Biden talking about what a loser Donald Trump is, what an embarrassment he is to our country. Former President Biden talks about Donald Trump's obsession with the reflecting pool. Let's play it.
Look, folks. No, folks, it's not just that. Reflecting pool reflects something even worse than the narcissism and incompetence at the core of this administration. It's the corruption, the brazen, blatant corruption. Corruption on a scale never seen before in American history in any administration. Trump has made billions of dollars since returning to the White House. It's simply stunning to me. He has no shame. And frankly, it's embarrassing for the country. But Trump could care less. Making money off the presidency is one of the reasons he wants to be president.
And then here, former President Biden continues to say, what a loser Donald Trump is. What a loser. Let's play it.
Look, it's not just his deliberate distortion and destruction of NATO, and it's choosing Putin as over American allies, or the fact that he's diminished our standing in the eyes of the world more than any president in history has. It's not just his vanity projects, tearing down the east wing of the White House, making room for his ballroom, putting his name on the Kennedy Center, building an arch in his own honor, even hiring his own pool guy to fix the reflecting pool. Whoa, what a loser. Look, folks. No, folks, it's not just that. Reflecting pool reflects something even worse than the narcissism and incompetence at the core of this administration. It's the corruption, the brazen, blatant corruption. Corruption on a scale never seen before in American history in any administration. Trump has made billions of dollars since returning to the White House. It's simply stunning to me. He has no shame. And frankly, it's embarrassing for the country. But Trump could care less.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you all think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers together. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.